where are we? What is this world all about? Because everything comes and goes. So as long as I'm here, you are here, everybody, we're all here in the same boat together. In a world that we call, well, physical life, time and space dimension. It's very interesting to consider, what is the purpose of this all? Why are we actually here? Because ultimately, since everything comes and goes, then in some bizarre way, if we really stop and think about it, then everything we ever achieve here is also going to fade into history soon enough, and people are going to move on from it. Perhaps we leave something behind that is very valuable and useful for decades, maybe centuries or longer, where humanity really benefited somehow from what we left behind. But with physical things and stuff we might invent and achieve, it always becomes something that we expand upon and improve upon, and therefore eventually becomes obsolete the way it used to be, and we sort of let it stay in the past, where it's no longer technology that serves us. Well, all these physical things therefore cannot be the main reason for why we are here. We are here to expand and grow our own consciousness into greater and greater realization of the infinity that we share with the universe. That's what we're here for. That is my conclusion, and that is the one that I want to share with you today, because our minds have been hijacked and led astray from this eternity. Now, how did that actually occur? How exactly does that happen in a human's life? Well, all we have to do is go back to the moment we are born. We enter this world and hopefully our parents are there. Sometimes they are not. Some people, it is actually very tragic how they grow up and how things happen to them already from the start. But let's suppose this is just a good situation where your parents are there to take care of you. And they will then, most likely and also unconsciously, let yourself be set up into a system through which your mind becomes hijacked and indeed led astray. It was led away from the perceptions of eternity. I'm kind of convinced and actually really sure that a newborn baby has more connection with the eternal nature of the universe than an adult, usually speaking, because somewhere in between those years from being a little newborn baby to an adult, a lot of programming takes place. We are very rapidly put into a school system, and from then on out the programming starts happening, a certain programming that is training us to indeed fit into society, to fit into this world, and how we are being told we should behave and operate. But the thing is, it is completely physically focused, so it is also literally never ever mentioning usually anything about the eternal nature of consciousness, and so people get lost. They get frustrated because they lose the whole connection that they actually have with the universe, that their soul has with all of creation, with infinity. So our minds are hijacked in the sense that we're at first, all of us, in most cases actually, trained to simply focus on the physical world, to focus on the labels that we have been given, because your name, when you're born, you're getting a name that is instantly a label made out of letters from which you identify yourself as you go through this world. And then as you grow a little older, you also become aware of your gender. You realize you're a man or a woman, or perhaps you, as they say these days, you identify with being something totally else altogether. I mean, that happens apparently with some people. Didn't happen for me, maybe not for you. For most of us it doesn't really happen necessarily, but again, hopefully you get the idea here. We're still identifying with some kind of label, because a newborn baby doesn't realize whether it's a man or a woman right away, physically speaking. It just becomes aware of that as it grows older. It just realizes, okay, I'm apparently a man, or you would say maybe, okay, I'm a boy, and that is a girl, it seems. Alright, what is her or his name? What is my name? And where do I live? What country am I from? And then all these labels, they start to happen in order to make sense of this physical world in particular. But that is also part of the issue if our upbringing is all about that, which it is in the Western world especially, but even in the East it still happens. But they might be more spiritually inclined overall as a society, but it still can be an entrapment even over there, because we put so much value on the physical things and achievements and status we have over here, that we are completely looking past the fact that this is all temporary. This whole physical journey is a temporary experience that we're having, and therefore the full truth, the real truth, can't be in this realm at all. So that means consciousness has to expand beyond this world. It has to outgrow this world. That's why you're here. You are actually right now here to learn to outgrow this dimension, so you may enter greater realities all throughout infinity. And the people that aren't ready for this change yet, they will find themselves being totally fine in this physical world of time, space, reality, because they don't know any better anyway at this moment of time. Now you might actually sense there's more, and you can't quite make up your mind. What is this? What am I becoming aware of? What is happening to my consciousness? Well, in reality, your consciousness is already expanding beyond the physical limits of existence. You realize this world, this is not the only reality. This is not the only thing to existence at all, because you become acutely aware of its temporary nature. And now is the time to expand beyond it, to find what is eternal. Or in the East, in the Bhagavad Gita, they would say to understand what is real and what is unreal. What is real is the eternal nature of consciousness. What is unreal is the idea of living temporarily, then dying and vanishing into oblivion. Sadly though, a certain percentage of the population really thinks that's going to be the case. When I drop that, that'll be the end of me. Nothing there, nothing left, it's just gone. Nothing. Nothingness. Well, that's not the real truth in my opinion, of course. But that's because my consciousness has expanded and shown me already that there is more than just physicality alone. So if we want to overcome this programming in which we have fallen, where we think that physically speaking is the only reality, we're going to have to take the time to disentangle these labels and perceptions from our consciousness. This might seem tricky or complicated. Where would you begin to start? What actually automatically happens once you realize that this is the truth? Once you can already sense, well, there must be more to life than this physical existence of mine, well, that is already the start of the process. Because then it's a matter of going deeper and deeper into your own consciousness itself, to actually allow yourself to become aware of these realities through your own intuitive faculty. You will start to sense more and more of the truth as you lean towards it in spirit. So the more attention you give to this question, what is this all about? Why am I here? What is this physical reality all about? Because everything comes and goes. And it actually seems a little tragic, even if you really think about this. It seems a little sad that everything has to come and go. So I'd rather find what is then eternal. If there is something eternal, then I want to find out what that eternal principle is within me and everything else. So I have something to work with out of this maze of temporary things. Because otherwise I get led astray by my senses. They're pulling me all over the place towards people and things that I'm going to have to let go of eventually all over again. So I cannot find happiness in this temporary world. But I could find happiness and bliss in understanding the eternal nature of existence itself. There's so much we cannot see with our physical eyes, and it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That is something science obviously has shown us as well, is that we can only see a certain particular band of frequencies that is called visible light, and through it we perceive this current reality, but it doesn't mean that it's the only thing to reality. It's been said that it's apparently a very extremely low amount of visible light that we can perceive with our physical eyes. So what else is there that we can't see? You could ask yourself that right now in the room or home that you're sitting in. What else is there in the empty space around you that you cannot see with your physical eyes? Well, I like how in Hinduism, etc., they actually mention this as being all part of God's substance, you could say, of the Spirit of God dwelling everywhere, in the visible and non-visible. Well, everything is connected energetically speaking, but the energy itself that connects everything isn't always visible, and therefore we call that empty space. But yet it is full of life. Everything is full of life. So even though you can't see it with your physical eyes and you've been trained only to look at the things you can perceive physically speaking, doesn't mean it's the only thing to your existence. We have to let go of this perception of being a physical human being completely. I know at first it might sound a little crazy to people. Whoa, if I let go of my perception of being a human being, what will happen to me? Well, I'll tell you what will happen. Your consciousness will be able to expand and show you greater and greater realms. Every time you go to sleep, you get visions. You might have them consciously, being completely lucid and aware of them, or they happen unconsciously, and on reflection you realize what a marvelous and fascinating dream that was that you just had. It actually revealed to you something more about the eternal nature of your own consciousness. That is the beauty. That is happening to me all the time. And I know it is happening because I'm letting go of these labels that were given to me of being a physical human being in a physical world with physical limitations. If consciousness is boxed in like that, if it's hijacked with these perceptions, then there's no wonder that humanity suffers so much, because they cannot look beyond it. They really think they are this limited human being, and then they lose people around them that they dearly love, and they suffer so greatly because of that loss. Some people actually die because of the loss. They get so sad, they have such extreme broken heart that they actually pass away after a loved one of theirs died. Now, even though after that passing away they still share eternal unity with the ones they loved, and they will understand it in that moment in time, hopefully, as they make their transition as well into the afterlife. But the way towards it is full of great suffering, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think it's even more important not to be coming from that point of view of extreme suffering and then learning the truth, or waiting until you can then sort of comprehend the truth after you're dead, because that would mean that, physically speaking, yes, your whole existence was nothing but suffering. And even though there will be a lot of suffering and struggling over here in physical reality, as long as we keep allowing our minds to expand, the suffering and struggling will also become less and less painful, less of a sting on the soul, because it hurts us. It hurts the soul to think and to believe, temporarily at least, that it's a limited thing, a temporary phantom on this earth, when you are eternal consciousness that is having a human experience. And therefore, we have to let go of the programming that is put on top of our infinite awareness. This programming that says that you have to fit into society, you have to make a living, you have to have a family, or whatever has been told to you as you grew up. All of these things that concern the physical world itself have to be let go one day. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't be able to enjoy the physical reality, because you should. But we should enjoy it from the right angle of being eternal consciousness, having a human experience, instead of literally believing we are a physical, limited human being, having to struggle to make ends meet, because otherwise we will suffer. Like, we are under a sort of spell of fear, of missing out, physically speaking. So we chase all kinds of physical things, and we lose track of the fact that we are eternal consciousness, just having a human experience. So one that is rich and one that is poor, neither of them are better than the other. What is actually a sign of true success, in my opinion, is whether the person in question, whether they are rich or poor, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is, are they actually in the process of expanding and awakening their consciousness towards the eternity that they are a part of? Can they actually look beyond the limitations of their physical life? Because a rich man might otherwise be obsessed with all the toys he can buy, and a poor man might be obsessed with something called money all the time, thinking that these physical things are the way to paradise, when in reality they're all part of a temporary experience that we're having. So it was never about any of those things. Yes, they will help us be more comfortable physically speaking, to have money in the bank and to do what we enjoy doing physically speaking or passionate about. But the real important part is for us to dare and accept that we are a particle of God, of eternal consciousness, that's meant to expand and awaken and grow into the realization of what it means to be part of eternal consciousness itself. That might mean indeed to learn to let consciously go of this world and everyone in it that you ever held dear. Because by letting go of that consciously and willingly, you will gain the whole universe in that process. You will be revealed more and more about the deeper nature and realities that exist throughout this universe, and you will find your connection with a much greater field of infinite awareness through these activities, through your allowing yourself to become one with what is also called God's infinite soul. Now this really takes contemplation for each and every one of us. To first realize that your mind has been hijacked and trained to focus on having a job, for example, and stressing yourself out, making a living, making a bunch of money, and then having to pay the rent. Most people live like that until they drop that physically. What a waste of time, because we could use that same time to expand consciousness, to connect it with the greater field of awareness, of infinite awareness, and then communicate with that field. And if we have troubles here physically speaking, we can ask it for guidance. You can ask the universe for guidance on how to solve your own problems physically speaking, and that information that you receive through your intuition will be much more valuable than stressing out over trying to fit into how society taught you to behave. So you can actually ask the universe how to make a living, and it will respond, and you'll be much more happy on how you're making your money compared to if you were following the rules on how you've been taught to make money. Because most people are just simply taught to, for example, make money by getting a job they don't like. But yeah, it pays, so I have to do it. And instead, you could also ask the universe, I'm over here physically, I need some money. I would like to make money. Can you show me a way that I could make it in a way that is also enjoyable for me personally? And the universe can and will respond. But it can only do so if you are opening up your consciousness towards it. If you expand your consciousness beyond the limits of being just a physical human being. Because that is how your mind has been hijacked and, well, misled away. It is completely led astray from the eternal nature of who you are, by focusing obsessively with the physical things alone. And we have to let go of them eventually, so we might as well learn to consciously let our attachments go to it, so we can then receive the blessings of the great infinite field of awareness that is also called God in all religions.